guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to read an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy, he's 60 years old, he's married, has kids, happily married, good family life, all that. And he's writing in to set the record straight that men should never fall for the nonsense from their wives or girlfriends of being a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home girlfriend with the kids is this horrible, impossible thing to do and so overbearing and all that. No, he's setting the record straight because he, for decades, had been a stay-at-home dad. Now, before you guys start throwing insults his way, bear with me here. This guy, early on, was diagnosed with leukemia. And it was at that point he was married and had a daughter, and it was a better situation for him to work from home. So at that point he was working on his PhD, so he had to deal with the school that he could study at home and also had a job at home with the university. So he's able to both earn an income being at home and take care of the daughter and all that, and it was best given the situation. He had leukemia. And he learned, first thing, it is not as impossible and miserable and so difficult that so many wives and girlfriends make it out to be. And I thought it'd be a good one to go over here again so that you guys are aware of this. And by the way, he is well aware from the stories and people he's known that typically when the roles are switched where one person is at home with the kids for an extended period of time, being a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, Mr. Mom, he's well aware that it does not end well. Because typically, and maybe you guys have heard a lot of these stories, when the guy takes on the traditional role as the woman, the caretaker, not providing any income, and the wife goes out there and takes on the role as the provider, the masculine role, it isn't long before things go to hell in the handbasket because she starts losing respect for him because she sees him as like a feminine role, even though usually this is her idea. And he starts seeing her as masculine and bossy, and he's like losing his natural purpose to conquer the world and provide. He's not doing that. It leads into a big freaking mess. You've heard that. This guy's no fool. He understands it. His situation is because he was providing an income, and also because his character, as he wasn't taking any crap, things worked for them, and I'm glad. And by the way, this is a guy who's sharing a story. He's done a couple videos before. This is the guy the photographer that tells all, who was a PhD, and then eventually decided he didn't want to do that anymore and used his photography hobby to turn into a full-time business. And he dealt with a lot of models and nude models and all that. I did his story. Some of you heard this. It's good. And he learned a lot about female nature. That's this guy. And he did it all from home and took care of the kids. And he's sharing, guess what? It isn't that hard. And he's driven a lot of women crazy, other mothers out there, saying how it's not that hard because they don't want to hear that. Because as you're aware, a lot like to complain. So anyhow, guys, if you guys are the relationship types or you're in a marriage, I urge you to watch this video. It's entertaining, and he will share his perspective that, guess what, is not as life-sucking and horrible as they make it out to be. So it starts off, says here, Dear SSM, you've used my stories before. I am Dr. Dave, the engineering PhD photographer who wrote about his first nude model, Jessica, and her typical attention-seeking and self-destructive female behavior. Bro, we can't forget you, or at least some of us. Your latest Hit the Bricks episode about the cheating stay-at-home wife galvanized me to finish writing this essay. I started writing this story around Christmas time in response to the stories with stay-at-home wives and girlfriends. Christmas? Man, I'm glad you got back on this story, man. What I never mentioned in my previous stories is that I was a de facto stay-at-home dad. Uh-oh. Well, I'm glad it worked out for you because the vast majority of the time, as many of you are aware, that is a terrible idea. I can't tell how many stories I've covered over the years where usually the wife convinces the husband to be a stay-at-home dad, and he takes on the traditional female role, and she starts seeing him in an unattractive way, and she takes on the masculine role as a provider, and he sees her as his mannish type of thing, and they lose respect for each other, and attraction, and it turns out to be a big mess. Well, obviously, your situation, like I said in the beginning, is a little different here, but glad it worked out. The long story how I became a stay-at-home dad, stayed married 39 years, and still became financially successful is for a much longer story. The short story is that while I did my PhD, I took care of our daughter. As an engineering research assistant, the school paid for 3/4 of my tuition, paid me a salary, and gave me a computer to take home. Well, that's great, man. It's not like you're sitting at home all day vacuuming or freaking cooking or watching Julia Childs shows and learning, you were working, and you had your PhD, and we're about to learn why you did that. Well, in the late 90s, computers were really expensive. I did most of my work from home. Shortly after graduating, I was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia, and my wife and I decided for me to permanently stay home with the kids and spend as much time with them as I could. Whoa, dude, I'm sorry, but thank God, obviously, it's been, I think the term has been in remission. So obviously, you're still here. I guess you always have it, but you're living, obviously living with it, but okay. But holy crap, man. Says here, I didn't know how much time I had at the time. My health and stamina were diminished, and we never knew when my health could take a serious downturn. Fortunately, my wife already had a great job that she liked and had great health insurance. Well, I'm so glad you were able to make it work, and I'm so glad you're here with us, man, and for your kids and all that. But so you can see why he did the stay-at-home dad thing, but he was still working from home, remember? And as you heard from the other story, as a photographer, obviously he had his photography business eventually, but he was still there. So it wasn't like you weren't providing an income, and I think that's part of the key here. And of course, you're just like a different type of guy. For the haters out there, yes, my wife made good money, but so did I. I just didn't have to work as hard for it. Hint, real estate and stocks. There you go. Let your money work for you. My story here exposes the BS, how difficult it is to be a stay-at-home mom. Here's the most important role for all men to remember when dealing with their stay-at-home wives. Taking care of a house and kids is way easier than school, and school is way easier than work. Don't forget this rule. Okay, like I said at the beginning, this guy did the stay-at-home dad thing and worked, I might add, and it worked out just fine. And yet we hear all the complaint all the time of how miserable it is, how difficult it is. I mean, it's like, come on here. Now, yes, I'm not a parent, so I don't know what that's like. But he does acknowledge, you'll see in a moment, that when they're a bunch of little kids, obviously it's more challenging. But as the kids get older, it's not that much time to put the stuff in the fucking washer and dryer or cook or go grocery shopping. A common feature of your stories are the childless stay-at-home mom or girlfriend. And I want to send you a quick letter about my experiences. They are not exciting or dramatic. There's no cheating, no betrayal, and no payback. But I do think some listeners could learn a thing or two. Well, that's why we're here. Unless you guys like looking at me all the time on your fucking smartphones or TVs. Simps deserve a smack when they have a stay-at-home girlfriend or wife and they don't have any children. A smack? No, they deserve a fucking roundhouse kick to the head. Stay-at-home wife or stay-at-home girlfriend that there's no kids involved, they're just sitting around fucking watching soap operas and doing Instagram all day. Yeah, the guys that allow that shit are fucking morons. They need to get a fucking job. They are being used and taken advantage of from your stories, and we all know how well that works out for the man in the end. What irks me worse is when I hear stories about stay-at-home moms and girlfriends complaining and wanting their working husbands to help take care of the housework, cooking, cleaning, wash, etc. Thank you. Exactly. Don't let these women BS you. I have a unique and an unassailable perspective on this. Why, you ask? Well, I'm 60 years old and have been a successful stay-at-home dad. I now know now from watching your shows, I'm an anomaly. Being a stay-at-home dad rarely works out for the man. I'm glad you acknowledge this because you've heard countless times it doesn't work out. I've only met one other successful stay-at-home dad. I now see that we had a lot of the same characteristics. The simple fact is, being a stay-at-home parent is easy. Do not let your wife or girlfriend whine and scam you about how hard it is and how you need to do more around the house. Again, this is coming from a guy that's done this. Taking care of a house and kids is not the same as it was for our grandmothers 50 years ago. My grandmother actually worked around the house and did things that no wife does today. For example, she cleaned the entire house, including the floor under the beds, every day. She canned fruit and vegetables. She cooked, and I really mean cooked. I remember her making hundreds of pierogies at a time for the freezer. Hell, she even ironed her sheets and towels using the mangle. FYI, a mangle was a large roller ironing press. No stay-at-home mom does this much work today. Of course not. Your grandma was scrubbing the floors and all that shit every day. There ain't no way your average stay-at-home mom or wife does that shit. No fucking way. And frankly, unless, I don't know, in your grandma's era, people were coming in and they were working out on the farm or some place where they're coming in. Everybody's dirty, and I don't see how it's necessary in today's world because everybody's working on a farm or construction site or everything, and you're tracking in shit on the floor. First off, any housework, including cooking, should average a total of 2 to 3 hours a day. It is routine and not very interesting, but that's most of life. I took care of almost everything around the house, inside and out. This is how some of the work breaks down. Well, I gotta ask, okay, I believe you, but you had leukemia, and I guess at its worst part, obviously you had very little energy and stamina, so obviously you weren't doing as much. I'm guessing this is after, treatment was done and you're in remission. I mean, I don't know all the things about this, but I do know that people have it. There's no cure right now, and you have it, but it's in remission. So I'm guessing you did this when things were a little bit better for you, I guess. This is how some of the work breaks down. The fact is, laundry takes about 5 minutes of work every hour. You just have to stay on top of it. Right. You walk up to the fucking washing machine, throw all the fucking clothes in, put in the soap, turn the timer or whatever you want, push the fucking button and walk away. And then when it's done, you walk your ass back to the laundry room, pull that shit and throw it in the dryer, throw in some fabric softeners, turn it on, and walk away. Yes, I do my own laundry. Obviously, I can't have my cats do the fucking laundry, guys. It's not that difficult. And then afterwards, well, if you either want to fold your shit or just throw it in the fucking laundry basket, like I do, What else? He says here, cooking dinner can be a little time-consuming, but breakfast and lunch are no-brainers. Once the kids are able, make them help out and learn to be part of the family. A 3-year-old can be taught to help out. You're damn right about that. I was helping out definitely by the time I was 5 years old. Just little things. I would sometimes sweep the kitchen. I mean, that was ridiculous at that age of me doing it, but the point is I tried. And by the time I was tall enough, I was setting the table or helping clear the table. This was my parents' house, my grandma's house, my aunt and uncle's house. No, kids did work. And they should. He says, errands and shopping. You only need to plan the route and buy everything in bulk as to minimize running out to the store all the time. The only thing that will really throw a wrench in your schedule and workloads are sick kids and trips to the doctor's appointments. Those days tend to be a total loss of productivity-wise. Hey, that makes sense. And also, the younger the kids, the more challenging it is, because little kids are really going to get into things and all that. Or if the little kids are screaming and beating each other up and all that. As a stay-at-home dad, our house was always clean when my wife came home from work, so she could spend lots of quality time with the kids before bed. After dinner, she would give them a bath and read to them. Okay, good. Because let's remember here, he was also working from home, which was extremely rare back then, but he did. Oftentimes, my wife would get funny looks when asked what I did because I had a PhD in engineering, but I was a stay-at-home dad. For fun, I used to like to screw with the moms in my kids' elementary schools. And he says, by screw, I don't mean fuck them. I would talk about how easy it is to take care of children in the house. And they hated me for when I said that. As a side note, I found many moms lacking as parents. Yeah, I bet it ruffled their feathers a bit. You had every bit of fun doing that. Now, obviously, as the kids got older and you stopped being an engineer, you started your photography business, you were doing that. As a stay-at-home dad with leukemia, I not only did the housework every day, I maintained the house interior and exterior. I remodeled our homes. I earned a master's and PhD in engineering. I did a lot of buying and selling of antiques and valuables to earn extra cash, and managed and bought and sold our rental properties. Again, I'm assuming this was obviously when you're under the treatment and feeling better and more energetic, or also you're probably just an extremely determined guy and weren't going to let anything hold you back. At the time, I also became an extremely good photographer. I tutored our children when necessary and made sure our kids went to one of the best high schools in the country. It was free. Both children got scholarships to fully cover all college expenses. Awesome, man. Both got STEM degrees, STEM. By making sure they were outstanding students, I saved $200 to $400 in education expenses. To put that $200 in perspective, I would have to have earned $400 before taxes. With our total tax rates close to 50%, that would have required me to work at least 4 solid years and save every cent. I noticed he said our tax rate's close to 50%. So obviously you and your wife are higher earners, and it sounds like you probably lived in a high income tax state. should have moved, and all those other things there. By staying home, I saved tens of thousands of dollars by doing most of the remodeling on our own personal home and then on investment houses. Since I was a primary disciplinarian, I set the rules and standards, and my daughters never gave me any grief. By the way, a girl's crying doesn't affect me. I cannot be manipulated. Crying just pisses me off, and my girls know it, wife included. Are you trying to say that from a young age, the girls try the waterworks to manipulate their fathers to get what they want? No. Where would that come from? See? They start young. And probably 95% of the time, it works on fathers. And they master that by the time they're like old enough to like hit puberty. And by then, most guys are putty in their hand, because the second they don't get what they want, well, the waterworks and the manipulation tactics. But not with this guy. This is why your marriage lasted, because obviously you had to work at home, but obviously because you had the leukemia and you made it work under the circumstances and all that, which is amazing. And I'm so happy you're here today. Happy for your family and kids. It worked, but also you have qualities that a lot of guys lacked back then, and still now. It says here, surprisingly, the leukemia hasn't killed me yet, but it has taken a toll on my stamina. With the kids on their own, I still take care of the house daily and manage our rental properties. But the days of me taking on large remodeling projects is now off the table. Dude, you're 60 years old. I'm sure you have plenty of dough, but I bet you probably did that because you enjoyed it. It wasn't just about the money. That's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people that keep pushing forward in life with new projects, new things they want to try. In your situation, probably purchasing homes, doing the remodeling, all that. It wasn't just about the money. You enjoyed it. It was fun. This is why entrepreneurs never stop, especially nowadays. They start one company, they're successful, sell it or back away and start something else because it's fun for them. And sure, egos are part of it too. They're competitive, but still. My working engineer wife does things around the house and offers to help me, but she really doesn't have to. She's a hardworking, good, caring wife. She helps out of concern for my health and stamina. Well, good. The moral of the story is, gents, do not be a fool. When your girlfriend or wife doesn't have kids, she better be working. When your stay-at-home wife complains about how hard it is to do all the household work and take care of the kids, call her on her bullshit immediately. And don't put up with it. The only exception would be if you have 4 or more preschool-age kids or a special needs child. Yeah, that's what I was thinking all along, and a special needs child. Then your workload is going to be much more difficult. The fact is, as a stay-at-home dad taking care of the house and kids left me with lots of free time to make money for other pursuits. Plus, I really enjoy my time with my kids as they grew up. Personally, I wouldn't trade any of the time I spent with my daughters for anything. I think that's also the reason why your daughters are the way they are, because you were with them all the time, and they learned early on they can't pull that crap with you. I'll share one other tidbit with you and the viewers. Women are not the prize. Men are not the prize. Good children are the prize in life. Thanks, Dr. Dave, the photographer. And he says, P.S., maybe I'll write about beating the odds and being a successful stay-at-home dad. Watching videos like yours made me realize how lucky I was that my marriage didn't implode. Dude, the reason your marriage didn't implode is because of the leukemia, obviously it was a different situation, better for you to be at home, and you were able to have an income and bring in money while at home, and obviously your personality was you weren't taking any shit. So your wife respected you on multiple fronts. So I think that if you didn't have the personality that you do, and you didn't earn an income being at home, you're purely cooking like Julia Childs and being Mr. Belvedere in the fucking house, that may have been different. It would have been a different outcome. But because of who you are, and you don't take any shit, and you have qualities that a lot of guys lack, and also you got an income and all that, then it was a different ballgame. And of course, because of the leukemia, your wife knew you were doing what you could do, and she respected you for that, and that's great. And I'm so happy you're still here, and you're here to share these stories and all that. And eventually what was awesome is you got into the photography business, which was part of those 2 other stories that I covered in the last couple of weeks. So anyhow, good info, sir. So gentlemen out there, I urge you guys, do not be stay-at-home dads. You've heard plenty of stories there, and I don't need to go into it again. If, however, it happens, you are aware what can happen. But if you're going to do it, you better well find how to have income at home as well and lay down the law. But don't fall for the crap of how it's so impossible to be the stay-at-home wife or stay-at-home mom. He laid it out there. I'm sure some of you guys at this point can do your own fucking laundry and grocery shop and cook, and you realize it isn't that time-consuming and back-breaking, for heaven's sake. So don't fall for it. And I do get if you have a bunch of little kids, okay? That can make you crazy and all that, and doctor's appointments and shit. But aside from just regular routine, it shouldn't be that bad. Don't fall for it. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you got a good story to share, send it my way. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's good, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.